Have you ever felt like you were being watched? Like there were eyes on you at all times, even when you were alone? That's how I felt for the past few months, living in my new apartment. It's an unsettling feeling that creeps up my spine and makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And it all started when I tried to light a candle. It was a chilly autumn evening, and the power had gone out in my building. I rummaged through the kitchen drawers until I found an old box of matches and a few unused candles. Lighting them would provide some warmth and ambience until the electricity was restored. As I struck the first match, an intense feeling of dread washed over me. The tiny flame flickered and danced, casting eerie shadows along the walls. That's when I noticed something peculiar. The shadows seemed to move independently, almost as if they had a life of their own. Unnerved, I quickly blew out the candle and decided to wait for the power to return. But that was just the beginning of my troubles. Over the next few weeks, strange occurrences became commonplace. Doors would creak open on their own. Lights would flicker inexplicably. And sometimes I'd hear faint whispers when I was alone. Each time I tried to light a candle, the same sense of foreboding would overwhelm me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong in this apartment. It was as if an unseen force was trying to warn me, to keep me from igniting those flames. One night, I awoke to the sound of footsteps in the hallway outside my bedroom. At first, I thought it might be my neighbors, but the footsteps grew louder and closer until they seemed to be right outside my door. My heart pounded in my chest as I held my breath, listening intently. The doorknob began to rattle, ever so slightly at first, then more violently, as if someone or something was trying to force their way in. In a panic, I scrambled out of bed and fumbled for the baseball bat I kept nearby for protection. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. The rattling stopped abruptly, and an eerie silence fell over the apartment. I remained frozen in place, clutching the bat tightly, until the first rays of dawn peeked through the window. After that night, the strange occurrences only escalated. Objects would go missing, only to appear in bizarre places days later. Sometimes I'd catch glimpses of shadowy figures out of the corner of my eye, but they'd vanish as soon as I turned my head. I became consumed with finding an explanation, scouring the internet for stories of haunted apartments or paranormal activity. But nothing could prepare me for what I eventually uncovered about the history of this place. It turned out that my apartment had once been the site of a horrific crime. Years ago, a family had lived here, a mother, father, and their young daughter. One night, while the parents were out, the apartment caught fire. The little girl was trapped inside, alone and terrified, as the flames engulfed the building. Firefighters arrived too late to save her, and her charred remains were found huddled in a corner, clutching a melted candle. As the realization dawned on me, the pieces began to fall into place. The little girl's spirit was still trapped here, reliving that fateful night over and over again, and she was desperate to prevent anyone else from suffering the same fate she had. That's why she was so adamant about not lighting candles. She was trying to protect me in her own haunting way. From that day on, I vowed never to light another candle in that apartment. Whenever the power went out, I would sit in the darkness, listening for any signs of the little girl's presence. Sometimes I'd imagine I could hear her soft whispers or the pitter-patter of her ghostly footsteps. And in those moments, I would whisper reassuring words into the shadows, hoping to offer her some solace. I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment forever, but I also couldn't bring myself to leave her behind, trapped and alone once more. So I started researching ways to help her move on, to find peace and cross over to the other side. It wasn't an easy task, but I was determined to see it through, no matter how long it took, because in the end, her story had become intertwined with mine, two souls bound together by the flickering of candles and the embrace of darkness.